There is a force that pulses through every woman, a strength that has been hidden beneath the surface for too long. For centuries, the world has sought to define her, to confine her, to soften her. Society has told her that true femininity is gentle, passive, compliant. It has told her that her power is in her kindness, her nurturing, her ability to sacrifice for the good of others. But true femininity is not softness. It is not bending or yielding to the whims of the world. True femininity is strength, the strength to stand firm, the strength to hold your ground even when the world tells you to step aside. This is a strength that comes not from brute force, not from the violence of domination, but from an inner knowing, a knowing that is so deep it cannot be swayed. It is a strength that is quiet, resilient, and unapologetic. It is the strength that says, I will not be moved, I will not be bent, I will not shrink. And it is in this strength that a woman becomes her most powerful self. For far too long, the feminine spirit has been reduced to a shallow version of what it truly is. We have been taught that to be feminine is to be delicate, to be seen and not heard, to constantly give and sacrifice. We have been told that our worth is found in our ability to please, to be accommodating, to be soft. But this is a distortion, a lie that has been perpetuated for generations. True femininity is not about being soft. It's about being unshakable. It's about having the strength to hold your ground, to be true to yourself, and to never apologize for it. In the face of adversity, the world often tells women to soften, to compromise, to take the back seat. It says, don't rock the boat. Don't cause trouble. Don't be too loud, too bold, too assertive. It makes people uncomfortable. But the truth is, when you stand firm in your truth, when you hold your ground unapologetically, you create the change the world so desperately needs. The world needs women who are not afraid to speak their truth. The world needs women who are not afraid to disrupt the status quo. The world needs women who will not shrink to make others comfortable. This strength is not about aggression, but about knowing your value and standing firm in it. It is the quiet power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's the power of a woman who understands that she is enough, just as she is, and will not compromise on that truth. True femininity is the courage to take up space, to stand tall, to say no when it's necessary, and to say yes to yourself. It is a force that comes from the deepest parts of your soul. It comes from knowing who you are and not being afraid to live that truth. It is the strength to walk through the world with confidence, knowing that you don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. It is the strength to say no when you are being asked to sacrifice your peace, your values, or your truth. It is the strength to choose yourself, to choose your path, even if it's not the path everyone expects you to take. This strength is not always celebrated. In fact, for many women, it's often feared, misunderstood, and even vilified. When a woman is unapologetically herself, she can be seen as difficult, uncooperative, or even selfish. But the truth is, the world needs women who are not afraid to be difficult, who are not afraid to challenge what is expected of them. The world needs women who will not bend to societal pressures, who will not shrink into the roles that have been forced upon them. The world needs women who are brave enough to stand firm, to say, this is who I am, and I will not be moved. The strength of true femininity is often misunderstood because it does not fit into the narrow boxes that society has created. It is not about playing small. It is not about being agreeable or passive. It is not about silence in the face of injustice. True femininity is about resilience, about having the courage to fight for your space, for your voice, for your truth. True femininity is about standing in your power, fully and completely, and never apologizing for it. This strength, this power, is not something that is given to you by others. It is not something that can be bestowed upon you by the world. It is something you claim for yourself. You claim it when you stop seeking approval from others. You claim it when you stop measuring your worth by the opinions of those around you. You claim it when you stop shrinking yourself to fit into the small spaces that others have created for you. You claim it when you decide that you will not be defined by anyone but yourself. It is a power that rises within you when you refuse to be moved by the world's expectations. When you say no to what drains you, when you say no to anything that asks you to compromise your soul, when you say no to what doesn't align with your truth, that's when the real power begins. And that power will change everything. It will change the way you show up in the world. It will change the way people see you. It will change the way you see yourself. When you know the power of holding your ground, you will find that you no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need to perform or seek validation. You no longer need to be seen in a particular way to be worthy of respect. Your worth is inherent. It is not dependent on anyone else's perception of you. It is not tied to your ability to fit into a mold that society has crafted for you. Your worth is in your very being, in your authenticity, in your courage to stand tall and unapologetically declare, "This is who I am, and I will not apologize for it." The true power of femininity is the ability to hold your ground. It is the strength to stand firm, to walk with unwavering confidence, and to never back down from your truth. It is the strength to choose yourself, to protect your peace, and to live your life on your own terms. True femininity is not about softness. It is about the fierce, unshakable strength to live unapologetically as yourself. And when you embrace this power, everything changes. Your relationships change. The way you approach the world changes. The way you move through life changes. You stop apologizing for being who you are. You stop trying to shrink or soften yourself for others. You start living in alignment with your truth, and you find that nothing in this world can move you. This is the power of a woman who knows who she is, a woman who stands firm in her truth no matter what, a woman who holds her ground and says, "I am worthy. I am enough, and I will not bend to the world's expectations of me." This is the power of true femininity. It is not about softness or compliance. It is about the strength to hold your ground, the courage to be unapologetically yourself, and the will to rise above everything that tries to hold you back. So, stand firm and claim your power. The world needs the woman who knows her strength, who knows her worth, and who will not back down. That woman is you. When you embrace the true essence of your femininity, not the softness, but the strength to stand unwavering in your truth, something remarkable happens. You begin to redefine the very concept of power. It's no longer about brute force or dominance, but about the quiet, indomitable resolve to remain true to yourself, regardless of the external noise. This power doesn't demand attention. It commands respect. It is the kind of power that doesn't seek to control others, but to control your own narrative. It is the strength to rise above what the world tells you to be, and instead to become everything you are meant to be. And that is where the true magic lies, in the realization that you are enough as you are without having to conform to anyone else's expectations. And this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires a fierce commitment to your own growth, a willingness to embrace discomfort, and the courage to reject the narratives that have been handed down to you. It requires you to get to know yourself on a deeper level, to embrace your shadows, your vulnerabilities, and your strengths. This is the work of reclaiming your authenticity, the journey of shedding the layers that have been placed upon you and revealing the powerful, resilient, unapologetic woman beneath. It is in this process that you will learn the value of your energy. No longer will you give it away to everyone who asks. No longer will you allow others to dictate your emotional landscape, to take from you without offering anything in return. Your energy is sacred, And when you begin to hold your ground, to say no when it's necessary, you begin to honor it. You begin to create the boundaries that protect your peace, and in doing so, you protect your power. When you say no, you teach others how to treat you. You teach them that you are not to be used, not to be drained, and not to be taken for granted. You show them that your time, your energy, your presence is valuable, and it is only to be given to those who truly respect you and align with your highest self. This is not a form of rejection, it is a form of self-respect. It is the courage to demand more from your life, to demand more from your relationships, and to step into the fullness of who you are without apology. As you continue on this journey, you will face resistance. There will always be those who try to make you feel guilty for saying no. There will be voices, both internal and external, telling you that you should give more, that you should do more, that you should sacrifice more. But each time you stand firm, each time you draw a boundary, you are teaching the world a lesson that you will no longer shrink, no longer compromise, no longer hide your true self. And with every act of defiance against these old patterns, you grow stronger, more resilient, and more connected to your true power. The strength to hold your ground also comes with the wisdom to know when to move. It's not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about knowing where to stand firm and when to bend, when to take action, and when to allow stillness. This balance, this dance between strength and softness is where true power lies. True femininity is not about rejecting any part of yourself, but embracing all of it, your gentleness and your fierceness, your tenderness and your resilience, your ability to flow and your ability to stand like a mountain in the face of the storm. When you choose to live in alignment with this power, when you choose to honor your boundaries, your needs and your truth, you become a force of nature. You attract those who honor you, and you repel those who do not. The world, in all its noise and chaos, will no longer have the power to sway you. You become the force that shapes your own life, that creates your own destiny, that stands as a pillar of strength and clarity, knowing that you are deserving of every good thing that comes your way. You will begin to notice that the more you stand firm in your truth, the more you are able to show up authentically in every area of your life. You no longer wear masks or play roles. You are fully unapologetically you, and this is when true transformation happens. The people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, will begin to see the strength in you. They will be drawn to your authenticity, your power, your unwavering confidence. They will respect you, not because you have demanded it, but because you have earned it by simply being yourself. And this respect, this reverence that you have earned, is the natural outcome of a woman who holds her ground. It is the recognition of your worth, your strength, and your ability to stand unwavering in the face of the world's expectations. And once you step into this power, you will find that the world begins to reflect it back to you in ways you never imagined. So, stand firm. Embrace the strength that lies within you. Do not allow the world to define you, to limit you, or to make you feel less than you are. Stand tall in the face of adversity. Hold your boundaries with grace and confidence, and know that the true power of femininity is not in softness, it is in the strength to hold your ground, to never compromise on who you are, and to live your life with unapologetic authenticity. When you embrace this strength, you become unstoppable. You become a force that shapes the world around you. And in that power, you will find a freedom and peace that cannot be shaken, a peace that comes from knowing that you are living in alignment with your truest self. This is the strength of true femininity. It is not about softness. It is about the courage to be strong, to stand firm, and to hold your ground. And when you do, you will realize that you are not just surviving, you are thriving, creating, and becoming everything you were always meant to be. As you continue to embrace the power of holding your ground, a deeper shift begins to take place within you. You start to realize that true strength is not a force that you exert on others, but a force that emanates from within you. It is an internal energy, a confidence born not of external validation, but of a deep connection to your own soul. This strength is unshakable because it is rooted in your own truth. It is a strength that is quiet, yet powerful, like a steady river carving its path through solid rock. The world will attempt to test you, to push you, to challenge your resolve. But with each trial, you become more solid, more grounded, and more confident in your ability to remain unmoved. This inner strength is not always loud or showy. It does not seek attention. It simply is. It's the stillness that exists beneath the chaos. It's the calm at the center of the storm. The woman who knows her strength does not need to constantly prove herself. She is comfortable in her silence, her stillness, her unwavering conviction. And in this peace, she becomes magnetic. People are drawn to her not because she shouts or demands attention, but because her presence is felt. Her strength is in her authenticity. The more you hold your ground, the more you will see that others begin to respect you, not because of how hard you push, but because of how steadfastly you remain. You will no longer need to explain yourself, nor will you feel the need to seek permission. You will stand tall in your power, and others will begin to naturally align with that. The woman who holds her ground doesn't beg for respect. She commands it effortlessly. The world sees her not as fragile, not as passive, but as a force to be reckoned with. And in the process, you will also realize that holding your ground isn't about resisting the world's pressures out of stubbornness. It's about listening to yourself so deeply that you can no longer ignore your own truth. It is an act of self-awareness and deep self-respect. When you refuse to bend, when you say no to things that do not align with your values, you are giving yourself permission to exist fully as you are. You are saying to the world, I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of my peace, my time, my energy, and I will not sacrifice any part of myself for the comfort of others. In this moment, you start to understand that your value is not determined by what you do for others, by how much you give, or how much you bend for others' comfort. Your worth is inherent, built into the very fiber of your being. And the more you refuse to compromise on this truth, the more you embody your real power. True femininity does not exist to please or appease. It exists to live fully and unapologetically in the fullness of one's own truth. And when you step into this power, it is liberating. The moment you embrace your strengths, you begin to shed the layers of self-doubt, insecurity, and the conditioning that told you to shrink, to hide, and to play small. You stop apologizing for your presence. You stop feeling guilty for setting boundaries. You stop pretending to be something you're not just to fit in. You stop seeking external validation because you realize that you are the only one who gets to decide your worth. You stop giving away your power to others. The world may try to label you, to tell you that you are too much, too loud, too bold, too independent. But you know better. You know that being too much is exactly what the world needs. The world needs more women who hold their ground, who stand firm in their power, and who refuse to shrink to make others feel comfortable. When you know your worth, you no longer fear what others think of you. You no longer seek to please or conform to society's narrow standards. You simply are. This shift isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. You begin to embrace your own desires, your own dreams, and your own needs with clarity and courage. You begin to make decisions based on what serves your highest good, and you let go of the fear that has been holding you back. The woman who knows her strength is not paralyzed by the need for approval. She acts from a place of certainty, from a place of self-love, from a place of knowing that her decisions, her dreams, and her goals are worth pursuing. In this way, the strength to hold your ground becomes not just a form of resistance, but a form of creation. It becomes the foundation on which you build your life, on which you create your reality, and on which you craft your future. You are no longer swept along by the currents of the world. Instead, you become the one who directs your own course. You are the captain of your own ship. This strength, this power, will also teach you how to navigate the inevitable storms of life. Life will test you. People will challenge you. The world will demand your attention, your time, and your energy. But as you continue to strengthen your resolve, as you continue to stand in your truth, you will find that you become unshakable. You will face adversity with grace and resilience. You will no longer be rattled by the opinions of others, the criticisms or the challenges. Instead, you will meet them with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. And as you walk through the world, you will notice that the very energy you put out will begin to shift. The more you stand in your truth, the more you will attract the right people and experiences into your life. You will attract those who respect your boundaries, those who support your journey, and those who uplift you as you continue to hold your ground. The more you claim your power, the more the universe aligns with your energy, and the more you will find yourself walking a path that is uniquely yours, a path that reflects the deepest desires of your soul. So, stand firm in your truth. Hold your ground with pride, with grace, and with unwavering confidence. Know that the strength you possess, the strength of true femininity, is not about softness. It is about resilience, courage, and the unshakable belief in your worth. You have the power to create the life you deserve, and nothing can move you off that path. This is the strength of true femininity. This is the strength that lies within you. And when you begin to embrace it, you will find that you are not just surviving, you are thriving, you are evolving, and you are becoming everything you were always meant to be. In the end, the true power of a woman does not come from weakness or the unconditional sacrifice of herself. That power comes from the ability to stand firm, from the inner strength to protect herself, to remain steadfast in what she believes, and never to be shaken by the forces outside of her. When a woman realizes this power, she no longer fears, no longer feels the need to seek approval from others. She will know that her value does not depend on the world's consensus. This strength is not about being rigid or violent. It is about resilience, calmness, and the ability to say no when necessary, and to say yes to what truly matters. A woman's power lies in her ability to hold her ground and never sacrifice herself for anything or anyone but herself. And when she truly stands in this strength, the world will change. Not because she imposes herself on others, but because she affirms herself, and from that affirmation the world will have no choice but to respect her. Everything will fall into place naturally, from the unwavering self-confidence that comes from never backing down or changing herself to fit into anyone else's expectations. When a woman knows how to hold her ground, she not only transforms her own life, but she becomes an inspiration to those around her, empowering them to stand up and live authentically as well. That is the true strength of femininity. It is not softness, but resilience. It is the ability to protect oneself and live a life without regret. So, stand firm in your truth. Show your strength without fear. Know that you deserve all the good things that come your way, and never let anyone or anything make you compromise. Your power is in your unwavering strength, in the ability to hold your ground in every circumstance. And when you do that, nothing can stop you from moving forward. There is a kind of power that lives within a woman, one so profound and untouchable that even the harshest of storms cannot shake it. It is a power that has been tested through centuries, shaped and refined by the trials of time, but still it remains untouched. It is the power of self-knowledge, the quiet, resolute understanding of who she is, and the irrefutable truth of her own worth. This power is not granted by external sources. It is not given by praise, nor taken away by criticism. It comes from within, born from the deepest corners of her soul, and it cannot be tainted, diminished, or manipulated by the world around her. What does it mean for a woman to know her worth, to truly, deeply know it? It means that she stands in the fullness of her existence, without apology or hesitation. She does not seek validation from others because she has already discovered the immeasurable value of her own being. This is not arrogance, nor is it pride. It is the quiet confidence that comes with understanding the fullness of her own nature. It is the certainty that no external forsano person, no situation, no outcome can ever take away the truth of who she is. In a world that constantly tries to define women, to shape them into acceptable forms, to push them into boxes that limit their potential, there is a danger in forgetting this truth. It is the danger of becoming what the world wants us to be rather than what we were always meant to be. But the woman who knows her worth is immune to this. She does not need to conform. She does not need to seek permission. She does not need to explain herself. This is not about being unaffected by the world. It is about being strong enough to rise above it, to refuse to be reduced by it. The world will try to push you down, tell you that you are not enough, that your worth is tied to how much you give, how much you sacrifice, how much you perform for others. It will try to convince you that your value is defined by your appearance, your career, your relationships. But the woman who knows her worth stands firm, understanding that her worth is intrinsic. It is not for sale. It cannot be negotiated. She knows that her worth is not tied to her ability to serve or to be liked or to be admired. Her worth is not a reflection of how much she can give or how little she can take. It is a reflection of the truth of her being her uniqueness, her soul, her voice, her wisdom. Her worth is unshakable because it is rooted in who she is at the deepest level, beyond the surface, beyond the labels the world places on her. The key to this knowledge is self-awareness. The more a woman understands herself, the more she knows her desires, her fears, her strengths, and her vulnerabilities, the more she becomes untouchable. Because when you know yourself, no one else can define you. The opinions of others lose their power. The judgments of the world no longer affect you. The criticisms become noise, not a reflection of your reality. You no longer allow anyone to project their limitations onto you because you know your own boundaries, your own capacity, your own worth. This does not mean that she is immune to the pain of life. She is not exempt from failure, loss, or hardship. But when a woman knows her worth, she can face those challenges with resilience. She can fall and rise again, not because she is perfect, but because she knows that her mistakes and setbacks do not define her. They are merely part of the journey, part of the process of becoming who she is meant to be. And through it all, her worth remains constant. The woman who knows her worth has a different kind of strength. It is the strength that does not come from force or dominance, but from an unwavering belief in her own power. It is the strength to say no when she needs to walk away from situations that no longer serve her, to set boundaries that protect her peace. It is the strength to stay true to herself, even when the world tries to pull her in 1,000 directions. She understands that her worth is not a currency to be spent, but a treasure to be guarded. She does not allow herself to be depleted by the expectations of others. She knows that to preserve her energy, her time, and her heart, she must choose wisely where she invests them. She is selective about who she allows into her life, who she shares her energy with, and who she gives her attention to, because she knows that her time is valuable, and so is her peace. In relationships, the woman who knows her worth does not settle. She does not settle for partners who do not see her value, who take her for granted, or who try to make her feel less than she is. She knows that she deserves respect, love, and care, and she is willing to walk away from anything that falls short of that. She does not need to prove herself, because she already knows who she is. She does not need to convince anyone of her worth, because it is already self-evident. But knowing her worth does not mean she is immune to love. Quite the opposite. It means that she loves herself first, and through that she is able to give and receive love in its truest, purest form. She understands that Love is not about losing yourself in another person, but about sharing your whole authentic self with someone who appreciates you for exactly who you are. And when you are secure in your worth, you can give and receive love without fear, without insecurity, without the need for validation. When a woman knows her worth, she becomes magnetic. Not in the way that comes from seeking attention or approval, but in the way that comes from radiating self-assurance, confidence, and authenticity. She becomes someone who is not afraid to take up space in the world, who does not shrink herself to make others feel comfortable. She becomes someone who commands respect, not because she demands it, but because she exudes it. And people, without even understanding why, are drawn to her. They see the light of her own understanding, the peace that comes from within, and they cannot help but be captivated by it. There is an undeniable power in the woman who knows her worth. It is not a power that is seen in dominance or in the need to prove herself. It is a quiet power, a subtle power, one that comes from self-respect, from self-awareness, from self-love. It is the power that allows her to rise above the noise of the world, to trust her own intuition, to make decisions based on her own values, and to move through life with a sense of purpose and clarity. And when the world tries to tear her down, when others try to diminish her, when the weight of expectations becomes too much to bear, the woman who knows her worth simply stands taller. She rises not in spite of the challenges, but because of them. She rises with the understanding that her worth is not dependent on the approval of others, and that no one can take away what she has already claimed for herself. In the end, it is this knowledge of self that makes her invincible. Because when you know who you are, when you know your worth, there is nothing the world can do to undermine you. You are unshakable, untouchable, and unstoppable. And that is a power that no one can ever take from you. So remember this. The woman who knows her worth can never be undermined. Not by anyone, not by anything, because her worth is her birthright. It is timeless, it is eternal. It is hers, and only hers. No one can steal it, no one can dim it, and no one can ever take it away. And in that knowledge, she becomes unstoppable. She moves through life with an unyielding grace, a knowing in her step, as if the world itself cannot help but bend toward her strength. The truth she holds within her is not one that is loud, it is not forceful. It is the kind of truth that sits quietly beneath the surface, like the deep roots of an ancient tree. And no matter how hard the winds of life blow, no matter how fierce the storms may come, those roots hold her in place. They keep her grounded. They keep her strong. The woman who knows her worth is not afraid of the unknown. She doesn't shy away from the challenges that lie ahead because she understands something. Fundamental challenges are not threats. They are opportunities. They are opportunities to further refine herself, to prove to herself what she's made of, to witness her growth. She knows that every obstacle that crosses her path is simply a moment for her to stand in her power, to rise, to meet the challenge head on and overcome it. The strength she holds within her is not the strength of the body, but the strength of the spirit, the courage to keep moving forward no matter what comes. The journey she takes is not an easy one. Life does not hand out victories for free. The world will test her. It will push her to question herself, to doubt her worth, to wonder if she is enough. But in those moments of doubt, she taps into something deeper, something timeless. Her worth is not something that can be questioned. It is a bedrock within her. It cannot be shaken because it is not reliant on the circumstances of her life. It is not something earned through accolades or approval. It is something inherent, something fundamental, something so deeply woven into her being that even the harshest of winds cannot uproot it. She has learned to see through the illusions that the world presents, the lies about what a woman should be, how she should act, what she should look like. She does not need to conform to society's standards because she knows that society does not define her, she defines herself. The images on magazine covers, the expectations in the workplace, the whispers in the streets, none of these dictate who she is. She has long ago stopped seeking external validation because she understands that no external force can ever capture the full essence of her being. She is too complex, too deep, too vast. The woman who knows her worth does not fear the judgment of others. The world will always have an opinion about her. There will always be those who attempt to impose their beliefs, their expectations, their narrow views of what she should be. But these opinions do not affect her. She knows that judgment is simply the projection of another's insecurities. It is not her reality. She refuses to let anyone's insecurities define her, because she has already defined herself. She has looked into the mirror and faced the woman staring back, and in that moment of reflection, she realized that there is nothing about her that needs changing. She is enough. There is a divine sovereignty in the woman who knows her worth. She understands the magnitude of her own presence, and she does not shrink from it. She steps into the world with the understanding that her voice matters, her opinions matter, her decisions matter. She does not apologize for who she is. She does not make herself smaller to fit into the expectations of others. And if the world does not have space for her, she makes space. She will carve out her place in this world because she knows that she was born to make a mark. Her worth is not something that can be taken from her by words or actions. It is not something that can be stolen by envy or competition. The woman who knows her worth does not compete with others. She does not compare herself to others because she understands that there is no one like her. She is a unique expression of life, a singular being who has a purpose all her own. And when she stands in her power, she shines in a way that no one else can. She knows that the light she carries is her own, and it is meant to be shared with the world, not hidden in the shadows of comparison. This is a paradox of the woman who knows her worth. She is humble in her knowledge, yet fierce in her resolve. Humility does not mean she diminishes herself. It simply means she recognizes the beauty and power in others without feeling threatened by them. She can lift others up because she knows there is no shortage of power in the world. She does not see others as rivals, but as companions on this journey. Her worth does not diminish because others succeed. There's room for everyone to rise. And as she rises, she brings others with her. Her power is not a solitary power. It is a collective power. When she knows her worth, she knows that she has the ability to build and create, not just for herself, but for the world around her. And in her presence, the world cannot help but take notice. The woman who knows her worth moves with purpose, with clarity, with vision. She does not flounder in uncertainty. She knows where she is headed. And if the path is unclear, she will carve her own way. She has an inner compass that guides her, a knowing that is beyond intellect, beyond reason. It is the intuition that whispers to her soul, telling her that she is on the right path, even when the world does not understand it. She trusts that inner voice more than she trusts the noise of the world. She is her own guiding light. It is through this deep knowing of her own worth that she becomes a force of nature. When she walks into a room, people feel her presence. When she speaks, her words resonate with truth and power. When she takes action, things move, because she knows that when she stands in her truth, she is unstoppable. There is nothing that can stand in her way when she is aligned with her purpose, with her worth, and with the strength of her own spirit. But the woman who knows her worth does not seek to control. She does not seek to dominate others or to impose her will on the world. Instead, she simply exists in her power. She knows that power is not about control, but about alignment. It is about standing true to who you are, regardless of what the world may say. When she stands in her power, she does not need to manipulate or force outcomes. The world will bend to her because she is aligned with her truth. The woman who knows her worth does not need to fight for her place in this world. She has already claimed it. She understands that her worth is inherent, unchangeable, and eternal. She does not need to justify her existence to anyone. She does not need to prove herself. She simply is. And in her being, she becomes a living testament to the power of self-awareness, self-respect, and self-love. And so, As the world spins on, the woman who knows her worth stands unshaken. She continues her journey with unshakable confidence, knowing that there is nothing and no one that can ever take away the essence of who she is. Her worth is hers. And because of that, she cannot be undermined. She cannot be moved. In the end, there is only one truth that matters. The woman who knows her worth can never be undermined. And that, my friends, is the most powerful thing a woman can ever realize. As she walks through life, unwavering and resolute, she begins to understand something even more profound. Her worth is not only a personal truth, it is a universal force. It flows through her veins, it pulses in her heart, and it is felt in every action she takes. She no longer sees herself as just a singular being navigating the world. She recognizes that in claiming her worth, she has connected with something eternal, something boundless, that transcends time, space, and circumstances. She now sees herself as part of a grand interconnected tapestry woven into the fabric of existence itself. And from this place of deep knowing, she begins to understand that her worth impacts not only her own life, but the lives of those around her. The more she embodies her value, the more others begin to see their own worth reflected back at them. She has become a beacon, a mirror for others to see their own potential. When she stands tall, others feel empowered to do the same. She has become a catalyst for transformation, not only in herself, but in everyone who crosses her path. This, in itself, is an extraordinary power, because the woman who knows her worth does not live in isolation. She is not in competition with others. She is in collaboration with the world. She understands that her value does not diminish when others succeed. In fact, it flourishes. She lifts as she rises, pulling others up with her, offering a hand, a word, an encouragement that fuels their own ascent. And yet, she never loses sight of herself. She does not get lost in the noise of the world or in the expectations of others. She understands that at her core, her journey is her own. And while she can help others along the way, she must first stay true to herself. She is fiercely protective of her time, her energy, and her peace. She understands that in order to give, she must first fill her own cup. Her worth is a treasure, and she guards it fiercely, not out of fear, but out of love for herself and for the world she is creating. Her worth is not simply tied to her achievements, her relationships, or how much she can do for others. It is tied to who she is, to the essence of her soul. It is this understanding that sets her free. Because when she knows her worth, she knows she is not bound by the limited definitions the world tries to impose on her. She is free to be fully, unapologetically herself. She is free to carve her own path, to create her own legacy, to live a life that is rich in meaning and authenticity. The woman who knows her worth is a revolutionary. She is revolutionary because she refuses to accept the narratives that seek to define her. She refuses to accept the limitations that others try to impose on her. She is rewriting the story, creating a new narrative where women are not confined by outdated stereotypes, where their worth is not determined by their outward appearance or their ability to please others. Her worth is determined by her own self-awareness, by her understanding of her intrinsic value, and by her commitment to living in alignment with her true self. And as she rises, as she steps into her power, she becomes a part of a greater movement, a movement of women who are waking up to the truth of their worth. This is not just an individual journey, it is a collective awakening. And when one woman stands in her worth, she creates a ripple effect that touches every other woman around her. Together, they are breaking the chains of societal conditioning. Together, they are rewriting the rules. Together, they are reminding the world that a woman who knows her worth cannot be held back, cannot be silenced, and cannot be undermined. In this revolution, there is no need for anger or resentment. There is no need to fight against anything. There is only the need to stand in the truth of who you are, unapologetically and with grace. The revolution is one of self-awareness, self-love, and empowerment. It is the revolution of women who refuse to shrink, who refuse to settle, and who refuse to allow the world to define them. And as the world begins to shift, as more and more women awaken to the truth of their worth, the world becomes a different place. It becomes a place where women are no longer relegated to the background, where their voices are no longer silenced, where their dreams are no longer diminished. It becomes a place where women are free to rise, to lead, to create, and to thrive, not because they are seeking permission, but because they have already given themselves permission. This is the power of the woman who knows her worth. It is the power of the individual, the power of the collective, and the power of the divine feminine force that lives in every woman. And the more women stand in their worth, the more the world will be forced to change. The woman who knows her worth does not need to fight for her place. She simply takes her place. And when she does, she creates space for others to do the same. Her power is not one that seeks to take, to dominate, or to control. Her power is the power of creation, of collaboration, and of love. It is the power to build, to nurture, and to inspire. It is the power to transform not only her own life, but the lives of others. The power to shape the world around her, in her image one where women are free to be everything they are meant to be. There is no limit to what the woman who knows her worth can achieve. There is no boundary she cannot cross, no challenge she cannot face, no dream she cannot make real. Because when you know your worth, you know that you are capable of anything. The world may try to tell you otherwise, but the woman who knows her worth understands that the only thing standing in her way is her own belief in herself. And so she moves forward with strength and conviction, knowing that her worth is not something that can be undermined. It is something that only she can define. And in this knowing, she becomes unstoppable. She becomes a force of nature, a force for good, a force for change. Her worth is her gift to the world, and she will not hide it. She will not shrink. She will not dim her light. She will not be silenced, because she knows her worth. And that, my friends, is the ultimate power. No matter what life throws her way, no matter how many challenges, adversities, or storms come her direction, the woman who knows her worth will always stand firm. Because she doesn't need anyone to validate her existence. She doesn't need applause. She doesn't need agreement. She is simply who she is. And that alone is enough to make everything possible. She will never shrink in the face of expectations, never surrender to society's imposed limitations, and she will certainly never let herself fade into the shadows of self-doubt. She is a flame that cannot be extinguished, a light that cannot be hidden by anything. The woman who knows her worth is not just strong. She is an inspiration. She is the one who transforms her own life, and in doing so, transforms the lives of those around her. She doesn't merely exist, she lives fully, unapologetically, and with absolute certainty in who she is. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, because she's already proven the most important thing to herself. She's valuable, and no one can take that away. When she walks into a room, the world knows it has encountered someone who isn't just surviving, but living in the fullest expression of their truth. She may not ask for the world to notice her, but the world cannot ignore her. Her presence is magnetic, because it is rooted in authenticity, in power, in the unshakable belief that she is worthy. So remember this: the woman who knows her worth can never be undermined. No one can take her light. No one can silence her voice. No one can shake her belief in herself. She is grounded in the truth of who she is, and because of that, she is unstoppable. Her worth is her birthright. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be diminished. And when she walks into a room, the world is forced to recognize her, not because she demands it, but because her existence is undeniable. And that, my friends, is the power of a woman who knows her worth.